channel. I'm Gigi. Okay, let's cut to the chase. Today we're talking about burnout, the ugly, soul-crushing kind that sneaks up on you when you're so deep into your dream job you can't even see the wreckage ahead, because guess what? Loving what you do doesn't protect you from burning out. If anything, it makes it worse. I mean, you've heard that annoying phrase, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, right? Well, let me tell you, that's the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard. When you love what you do, you can still work yourself to the bone, sacrifice your sanity, and end up asking yourself, what on earth was all of this for? Sound familiar? But don't just take my word for it. Even the most successful, glamorous, and seemingly untouchable people, those who seem to have it all, have hit a breaking point. From pop icons to world-class athletes, nobody's immune to the toxic grind, because the fame, the fortune, the glitzy parties, they don't stop burnout from creeping in. So today we're diving into the harsh reality of success, the price we pay for it, the crashes after the climb, and the people who had to step back and put their sanity first. So let's talk about Robbie Williams, okay? Our favourite cheeky chappy. So back in the early 90s, Robbie was everywhere. Take That's biggest star, smashing it solo, selling out arenas, but behind the scenes, absolute chaos. So it was just all too much. Robbie said himself that the pressure of fame, constant touring, and that must always be on grind sent him spiraling. We're talking substance abuse, crippling anxiety, and a breakdown so severe, he left the industry for years. But here's the truth. Even the most successful people hit a wall, because fame and fortune don't make you invincible. They just turn the stakes up to around 11. Robbie had to stop and ask himself, what is the point of all of this if it's killing me? And honestly, that's a question more of us need to ask. So now let's talk about the wonderful Simone Biles, because even strength has limits. And she's literally the queen of gymnastics, Olympic gold medals, world championships, endorsements. But at that 2021 Olympics, she did something almost unheard of. She pulled out of the competition. And why? Burnout, pressure, the weight of carrying an entire sport on her shoulders. Simone openly said her mental health was suffering, and continuing would have had to put her physical safety at risk also. But if somebody like Simone struggles, what about us? I mean, she's the best in the world, and even she hit her breaking point. If Simone can take a step back and say, no, my health comes first, what's stopping the rest of us? What's stopping the rest of us from doing the same? So we go back in time to my own burnout story. Yeah, this is an interesting one. So let me take you back to my dream job. I was the fashion editor for a major fashion magazine. I'd worked for years, a decade to be exact, to be in that role. And when it happened, happiest day of my life. The red carpets, the exclusive events, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Paris Hilton. It all seemed like a dream. And then it turned into a nightmare, because nobody told me about what would come with it. The toxic work culture, the constant bitching, the backstabbing. The women I worked with weren't just competitive, they were ruthless. Ruthless. And let me be clear, none of this was about the work itself. It was about the environment. Long hours, endless deadlines, always been on call. The stress was constant. If I wasn't at work, I was mentally at work. My life, my identity My whole identity was my job. I was a fashion editor, and my friends noticed that something was off. They said I was changing, becoming more cynical, more irritable. They said my eyes looked dead, that I was more bitchy, that I lost my sparkle. I was too exhausted to care. I quit, and while I missed the glamour, the party, the perks, the peace I found after stepping away was worth so much more than any designer dress or fancy invitation. The moment I walked away, I realized I didn't need that industry to define me. It's just a chapter in my life. So now you might be wondering, how does burnout actually happen? You're not alone in this. It's not just you feeling crushed by the weight of it all. So let me break it down for you, and this might sound familiar. Constant pressure. You're expected to perform at 200% all of the time. No days off, no slip-ups. If you don't perform, someone else will. No boundaries. You live, breathe, and sleep your job. Work becomes your identity. And who you are outside of your role? Crickets. Emotional exhaustion. You're running on fumes. No one cares. The world still expects more. And burnout doesn't care how passionate you are about the work. It doesn't care if you love what you do. You're not a robot. The warning signs. Burnout doesn't show up like a dramatic movie moment where you have a heart attack. It's a slow creeping fog that takes over before you even realize. So what should you look for? Chronic exhaustion. You're tired no matter how much you rest. You're physically drained, but your mind doesn't stop. Emotional detachment. You just don't care anymore. That spark of creativity, the passion for what you do, gone. You're numb. Feeling like you're literally dying inside. It's not just dramatic. It's literally feeling like you just can't go on. Your body's screaming at you. And you have zero motivation. Even getting out of bed feels like a monumental task. And every new project, like an impossible mountain. And then there's the resentment. You start hating the very thing you once loved, your job, the thing that you were dreaming about. It's no longer fulfilling, it's draining, it's toxic. So let's look at a little bit of advice. So here's what I want you to do, if any of that sounded familiar, and I'm sure some of it did. Set boundaries. Work stops when work stops. You're not a superhero, you're a person. So take that lunch break. Leave work at the office. When you say no, you're not being selfish, you're surviving, you're prioritizing yourself. Your worth, your output. You're not a machine. You're not defined by your productivity, because your value is in who you are, not how much you've done in the day. And rest is revolutionary, because you know what the real win is? Logging off at 5 p.m. without feeling like you need to apologize for it. If you can, leave work at work, because your brain will thank you later. And then get therapy or start venting with friends, whatever you need. Just don't do this alone. A good bitch with a friend, there's nothing like it. And above all, saying no isn't selfish, it's survival. If someone is mad at you because you set a boundary, then that's their problem, not yours. Look, you're not alone in feeling overwhelmed. So many people, superstars, athletes, and even fashion editors, have hit the same wall. You know, success is supposed to be fulfilling, but when it comes at the cost of your well-being, it's just not worth it.